We're now ready to start our commission meeting. Good evening, all.
Good evening, Mayor.
Let's call our meeting to order. Roll call, City Clerk, please.
Commissioner Castillo?
Here.
Vice Mayor Good?
Here.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Here.
Commissioner Seipel?
I'm here.
Mayor Ortiz?
Here.
City Manager Dodge?
Here.
City Attorney Gorham?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thanks. Let's stand for a pledge of allegiance led by our good school board member, Patty Good.
To
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let me just say, we had a funeral the other day for probably one of the greatest individuals I've come to know in a long time. I was one of the ones that appointed him to the commission on a temporary basis, and then he went on to get elected on his own and stay for a long period of time. Carl Schechter was a great individual, and we had a viewing for him last week, and I'm telling you, could we just all think about this great man who's no longer with us, bow our heads for a moment of silence? Thank you. God bless you, Carl. All right. How about announcement of items to be posted on the agenda, City Clerk?
No items, Mayor.
Items to request of the public.
No items submitted.
Any board announcements?
No announcements, Mayor.
Okay. This is items 1 through 11 are consent agenda. What's your pleasure?
Mayor, you gonna do presentation?
Oh, presentation. That'd be better.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sorry about that. All right, our first presentation is for Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Do we have a recipient here tonight for this? All right, I'll just read it. Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Whereas the City of Pembroke Pines City Commission is firmly committed to raising awareness about suicide prevention in the City of Pembroke Pines. And whereas the month of September is nationally recognized as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And whereas over 40,000 Americans die by suicide each year. In Florida, a person dies by suicide every 2 hours on average. Suicides in Florida far outnumber homicides. And whereas suicide is a national epidemic causing the lives of 66,000 veterans each year and is the leading cause of death for first responders. Firearms are the leading method of suicide in Florida and the most lethal method. Access to gun triples the risk of death. And whereas suicide is the second leading cause of death for young people in the United States, every year, nearly 3,000 young people die by firearm suicide. And whereas it is critical to recognize the signs of depression that may lead to thoughts of suicide, including speaking about wanting to die, feelings of isolation or hopelessness, increased use of drugs or alcohol, and severe mood swings. And whereas it is critical to recognize the best methods to prevent suicide when a person is in crisis. Ask if the person is thinking of taking their life. Keep them safe and remove their access to lethal lethal means such as firearms, poisons, and prescription drugs. And get them professional help. In Florida, dial 211 or call the National Suicide Prevention Line 1-800-273-8255 or text 741-741. And whereas the League of Women Voters of Broward County has provided significant leadership in suicide prevention through community education, creation of their Lock It Up gun safety program. And whereas the Florida chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics has provided significant leadership in suicide prevention through community education and programming. Now, therefore, I, Frank C. Ortiz, by the authority invested in me as mayor of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, on behalf of the City Commission, we hereby proclaim the month of September 2021 as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in the City of Pembroke Pines, and enthusiastically supports the mission of Lock It Up and the League of Women Voters of Broward County Gun Safety Committee, as well as the Florida chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics by encouraging safe storage of firearms and removal of other lethal means to prevent suicide. Do we have any of the women from Women League of Voters? Okay, we'll make sure we get this to them.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
I have a note from Barbara Markley, who would like it read into the record regarding this matter.
I did.
The note that's on behalf of League of Women Voters of Broward County and the Florida chapter of American Academy of Pediatrics, we thank the mayor and commissioners for issuing this proclamation. Taking action can help prevent suicide. When a loved one is in crisis, please remove all lethal means from the house, including guns and medications, and then dial 211 or the National Suicide Hotline. Let's take care of each other. You are not alone. That is a note from Ms. Barbara Markley.
Okay, thank you, City Clerk. All right, our next proclamation is City of Pembroke Pines International Overdose Awareness Day. Whereas International Overdose Awareness Day is recognized globally on August 31st to raise awareness about the risks of overdosing, honor the special someone whose lives have been lost from overdosing, and acknowledge the grief felt by families, friends, and communities around the world. And whereas Overdose Awareness Day aims to publicly challenge the stigma associated with substance use disorders and overdosing. And whereas recent reports from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention show that in 2020, over 92,000 lives were lost in the United States due to overdose, the worst ever in a single year, and up nearly 30% from 71,000 have lost lives in 2019. And whereas North America accounts for 1 in 4 drug-related deaths globally, the highest drug-related mortality rate in the world, as reported by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. Whereas every person's life is valuable and every overdose death is preventable, it is imperative to recognize overdose as a social issue which impacts victims, their families, friends, and communities. And whereas the Opioid Patient Right to Know Act of 2021, H.R. 1185, will save lives by encouraging and supporting states to pass laws informing all patients and the parents of patients of the potential for dependency and addiction to an opioid at the time it is most needed before it is prescribed, and by making patients aware of alternatives to opioids that exist for their acute pain. These life-saving conversations between prescribers and patients will also help to identify the signs and symptoms of dependency and encourage securing of these drugs in the home to prevent diversion. And whereas the color purple is worn to support and help foster open, informative discussions about substance use disorder and drug overdoses. And whereas Pembroke Pines is calling on all communities, the state and the country to support overdose prevention policies and projects and end the stigma and silence surrounding substance use and overdose. Now therefore, I, Frank Ciordas, as the mayor of the city of Pembroke Pines, do hereby declare August 31st, 2021 is International Overdose Awareness Day in the city of Pembroke Pines. Commissioner Seipel, do you want to say something about that?
Yes, Mayor. Liz Fisher actually is here to receive that proclamation. Ms. Fisher, if you want to come up, please.
Oh, didn't even see her there. How are you? On behalf of the City Commission, would you like to do that? Would you like to say a few words and go to the mic? Yeah, just push the button there.
Thank you so much.
Bend it down. Bend it.
Oh, is it okay? Oh, I don't know. Thank you so much. You know, we've been doing this for many years, and we haven't been able to have an event for 2 years because the other year we had a bad storm coming through right at the last minute, and then unfortunately with COVID coming through, it's not the safest time to gather a lot of people, but you know, it's still raging. You know, I know you said 71,000, but for 2020 it was up to 90,000. And a lot of that is really underreported right now, especially because there's lots of other health crises going on in the world. But I guess the big thing, and what I keep, every time I come here and I say this to you all, and I mean this heartfelt, is that the way to combat this is to end the stigma. Because a lot of organizations that I've been very fortunate to be involved in, it does not discriminate. It does not discriminate against anybody, you know, socioeconomics, gender, race, education, no education, it doesn't discriminate. And from all the stories that I've heard over the last probably 8 years I've been involved in this, recovery is possible. Recovery is possible. Recovery does happen every day, but it really comes when people seeking recovery who are in addiction and looking to get well, because it is a disease. It's chronic. It's something that when someone is affected by addiction, they will have to work on their entire life. But it is possible because there's so many success stories. In our family alone, we're very fortunate. Our loved one is successful and thriving, and we're very blessed. But it has to come from a place where there's the stigma ends and opportunities are created. Because a lot of times when someone has been caught in the addiction trap and they've been out of the workforce or they have suffered traumatic events that lead to some type of PTSD, it's hard to get back in the groove of things, so to speak. So sometimes just an opportunity, and you just never know when that opportunity will click with somebody and they get their life back on track. Because like I always say, you know, human beings aren't perfect. No one's perfect, you know. So, you know, I would just always like to drive home, and I know because you guys do this every single year, that we are meeting this population with compassion, encouragement, and support. And that's the way we're going to continue getting to this. So thank you again very much.
We're going to be partners with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything further, Commissioner Seifel?
No, Mayor, I just want to thank Ms. Fisher and her group that she's with a lot, Fed Up group, which, you know, we've all heard me talk about that, and we've passed out information here on Fed Up, and they just do so much local good work and meetings and getting people to continue going to meetings. And because, like she said, you know, building that self-confidence and giving those opportunities are what come out of meetings like that. So thank you, Ms. Fisher, for your continued, you know, support and love of the task. You know, there's a phrase that has been used a number of times, and I think it's appropriate to say it now for all of us, and I'm saying all of us that are here that have, you know, tried to help someone, whatever the circumstance be, that burden had been laid on us, and it's ours to run with it. We have that, it's our task. We are supposed to help others, and through, like your organization, it's very specific on what they do, but there's so much help out there for everybody. So, but thank you again for always being there and helping to get things organized, and we'll keep working at it, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Commissioner Castillo.
Mr. Mayor, I know that you're going to go to the consent agenda in a moment. We have with us today the Board of Directors of Coupa at Century Village, and they asked if, without objection, item 14, which they're here to talk to us about, could be pulled out of order.
Okay. All right. Anybody have an objection to that?
Are there going to be any pulls on consent?
Items 14?
No. Are there going to be any pulls on consent?
Well, we don't know. I haven't gone through it yet. He just wanted to he wants to pull that above and beyond that.
Okay.
So we can do that. Good to see all of you. All right, item 14, City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. Good evening. Item 14 is a motion to pass proposed ordinance number 2021-16 on first reading, which is proposed ordinance 2021-16, which is an ordinance of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, vacating, closing, and abandoning the road right-of-way for existing Southwest 136th Avenue, described in the survey sketch and legal description attached hereto, and more particularly described made a part of Exhibit A, reserving unto the City of Pembroke Pines a utility easement for that portion of the vacated right-of-way, providing for recordation, providing for conflicts, severability, and providing for an effective date.
Moved by Commissioner Castillo, second by Commissioner Seifel. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yes,
Sure,
City Attorney.
permission, just to acquaint the Commission, in this document, this is the first reading of the vacation and abandonment ordinance. At the next meeting of the commission on the 13th, should the commission pass this item this evening, there will be the second reading of the ordinance required by state law, accompanied by the land use agreement which the commission directed and authorized that we negotiate and prepare for the parties, which is the CV Group, as well as the City of Pembroke Pines, which will be on the next agenda for the 13th. So there'll be a reading both of the resolution to approve the agreement, coincident with the second reading of the ordinance, which is a public and final public hearing on the item. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Mr. President, do you want to say anything? Good evening.
Good evening.
Push the button. There you go. Oh, one more time. It's got to turn red. Push it again. There we go.
Is it on? There we go. Good evening. I'd like to thank Mayor Frank and the commission for the consideration of this particular subject. We've been working on it for a couple of years. Those of you who are familiar with Century Village may know that we've spent in the last 15 years almost $15 million upgrading and improving Century Village. This piece of land is in Century Village inside and is really the last piece that we haven't done anything with. It's kind of an eyesore in there. And so we're looking forward to your consideration and positive vote on this particular situation. We think that we can build a park there and make it look good and make it usable for the people of Century Village. So we appreciate your consideration and we thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please, City Clerk.
Commissioner Castillo? Yes. Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The recommended
Congratulations.
commission, the second and final reading of this ordinance along with the land use agreement will be on September the 13th in these chambers.
September the 13th.
Okay.
And if I could, Mayor, for a second, I want to wish my good friend Carl Quiet a happy birthday. He had a great birthday last week, right? Happy birthday, Carl.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I've also,
That I leave to him.
I also have a request.
95 years old.
Oh, my gosh.
Hi.
Wow, happy birthday.
Happy
He looks
birthday. Yay. I also have a request to bring up item 16. So 16 without objection. City Attorney, would you read it in the record, please?
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner. Number 16 is a motion to adopt proposed resolution number 2021-R-38, which reads as follows. Proposed resolution number 2021-R-38 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, renaming and dedicating that portion of Southwest 72nd Avenue between Pines Boulevard and Pembroke Road as Taylor Bishop Avenue, in accordance with Section 100.02 of the City's Code of Ordinances, directing the City Clerk to transmit a copy of this resolution to Broward County and the Florida Department of Transportation, directing the appropriate city officials to take any and all action necessary to effectuate the intent of this resolution, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and finally, providing for an effective date. That's number 16, 2021-R-38 on the floor. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, moved by the Vice Mayor.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schwartz. Vice Mayor?
I think we all second it.
Okay, good.
Yes, thank you to
Oh,
all my
good.
colleagues. Yes.
Good.
I want to recognize that the Bishop family is here, Kiki and her mother Giselle, Father Jerry. Thank you guys for being here. I can't be more prouder of this commission for what we have done, for you and for Taylor. We know how very important he was to your family, and this is just a small way of us showing how important he was to us in the city. I want to share everybody that I have a lapel pin. It's like a little green, looks almost like breast awareness or something like that, cancer awareness and things, but it's a Taylor Bishop awareness. And,
Make sure we I'll get one.
And the commission is all asking for one, so we can all share in that. So thank you for sharing that with me. And if there's no objections, I don't know, Kiki, would you like to have one final say on this, or you're fine? Thank you.
We're proud of you, too.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to speak to this item.
Okay, further discussion, item 16. Hearing none, call the roll, City Clerk.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The resolution for the record is number 3764, the permanent number. Thank you, Mayor.
And we'll see you at the ceremony. All right, now I have a consent agenda, items 1 through 11. What is your pleasure?
No pulls.
Anybody else?
2, please, Mayor.
2, cycle. Okay. Any others? All right, hearing none, I'll go to items 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Castillo, second by Commissioner Seipel. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Commissioner Seipel, item 2, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Motion to award IFB number RE-21-05, resurfacing Charter Central Pool to the most responsible bidder, American Pool and Patio LLC, DBA Beach Orama, in the amount not to exceed $56,420, which includes an owner's contingency in the amount of $5,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schwartz. Go ahead, Commissioner Seipel.
Thank you, Mayor. The only question I have, I guess, would be probably to City Manager. I read on page 2, under the summary, number 4, item number 4 says American Pool and Patio submitted all the requested forms, but they did not submit the required data sheets, but they were allowed to submit those sheets. My question is, the sheets that were submitted, do they still reflect the bid amount of $51,420, or was there any change in that?
I would ask Mr. Gomes to come up and address that, please.
Good evening, everyone. Mark Gomes, Procurement Director. The data sheets that were submitted were just product sheets. They did not change anything to do with the price.
So there was no change, because they had submitted an amount, but nothing changed with that?
Yes.
It's still the same thing?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Second reading ordinances, City Attorney, item 12, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. Number 12 for the record is a motion to pass proposed ordinance number 2021-14 on second and final reading. Proposed ordinance number 2021-14 is an ordinance of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, to approve the franchise agreement with Waste Pro of Florida Incorporated, that's referenced as Waste Pro, for solid waste, residential recycling, and commercial waste collection and disposal services. Attached here to is Exhibit A and made a part hereof. Authorizing the city manager of the City of Pembroke Pines to execute the agreement with Waste Pro, all consistent with the revisions of Section 3.12 of the Charter of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and finally providing for an effective date. Item number 12, number 2021-14 on the floor. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Attorney.
So moved.
Commissioner Seipel moves the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the Vice Mayor. Discussion.
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead, Commissioner Schwartz.
City Manager Dodge, I think it'd be easiest to share your screen. I have a website. That I want you to pull up. There were some comments at first reading about recycling and where stuff goes. I wanted to make sure that the public has the truth of actually what's happening with it. It's WTIenergy.com. If you could pull up WTIenergy.com, City Manager, and just read the first 2 paragraphs on the landing page for me.
Commissioner, I don't have the ability. I'll let the city clerk do that for you.
All right, we'll have the clerk, WTIenergy.com. And while the clerk is pulling that up, there was a national story a few days after our meeting with respect to recycling and the plastic industry. Vice Mayor Good, you had alluded to the national scam that was going on. The national media outlet actually showcased the challenges in the plastic industry, and essentially in the backup we have some options of charging our residents more money and it still goes to the dump. That's not something I'm really interested in doing. I am concerned about the education piece, the effectiveness of it, how we can measure it. And I would ask the administration, to provide the commission guidance and feedback and what their plan is to ensure that our residents understand what 1 can out in your front yard means and where everything goes. City Clerk, if you can just scroll down on this landing page, there's going to be some text. All right, I'm not seeing it on. There's, I'm going to read it just directly off of the mobile site, if you don't mind, Mayor. Wheelabrator South Broward, located in Fort Lauderdale. The Wheelabrator South Broward Waste-to-Energy Facility is capable of producing 66 megawatts of electricity, enough to power 38,510 homes, as well as its own operations. So basically, it's self-sufficient. The facility uses as much as 2,250 tons of everyday household and business waste each day as local fuel to create local energy ecosystem that generates clean, reliable, and renewable energy for the local utility. As we process post-recycled waste, we reduce waste volumes by 90%. And we recover, reuse, and recycle the rest, including ferrous and non-ferrous metals. The ash residue is disposed at the South Broward Ash monofill located adjacent to the facility. This is super important because the day after the meeting, there was just some really weird stuff being put out on social media from those who were actually in the room, and that has to stop. We are in transition now. Obviously, I can only speak for myself, that I wish there was a better way to recapture, recycle, and all the fuzzy wuzzies that the industry gave us some 9 years ago. But the truth is it's just not happening fast enough. There is some work product that we expect from the county, and hopefully not too far distant future, that might change some things. But it's critically important that, City Manager, that the education piece includes this information. It has to be included as a part of the education piece to the public, because we can't go sideways on this. You don't create solutions by manufacturing problems. That's not what we do up here. We look at it, we tell the truth, we hold people accountable for what they say and what they do. With respect to the vendor, I certainly expect, and the residents expect, a level of service second to none. And I'm looking forward to the shift in that thought process, so that come January 2nd, we are the model of how service is supposed to be. The challenges that I've been facing the waste industry has been unheard of. The public relies every week that they put their can out, it gets picked up. But there are people behind that process. And there have been some folks, as a result of this pandemic, lives were lost in the work and going to work every day and putting themselves at risk. And I just want to thank the waste disposal industry for everything that they've done up until this point. It's unprecedented. City Manager, the social media campaign has to be strong. We need to make the investment for sponsored ads. We have to make the investment to have cross platforms. We should send the information home through our charter school system. There should not be a facility that doesn't have this education piece front and center, so people know come January 2nd what the process is going to be. In the meantime, there's going to be some growing pains. Certainly, one of the things, colleagues, that we should fully expect is that as recycles move to 1 can, that the second pickup of the week is gonna be a little bit heavier in your can than what you would normally have on the first. And that is gonna be a behavior change. The national media ad says that if you have a bottle, if it looks like this, it's recyclable. If it's a fork, it's not. If it's a bag, it's not recyclable, it just gets burned. So here we have a wheelabrator who is going to capture 90% of everything that we do, and right now we're barely capturing 40%. I also see that there's nearly a 48% reduction in costs going out to our residents based upon the initial bid. And I want to thank the administration for putting together a package that the residents should be proud of and thankful of. Now it's up to us to execute what the manager has put on the table. It's our job to ensure that we're telling the folks, put your one can out, we're capturing 90% of the recycle, it's going back into energy and homes. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Further discussion? All right, City Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
No.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Director Mayor Commissioner, the permit number is 1970-1970 for item number 12.
I'd like to introduce some of the Waste Pro people that are here. Kenny Rivera, say hello. Damon, say hello. All right, we are at item 13, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner. If you may read into the record, item 13 is a motion to pass proposed ordinance number 2021-15 on first reading. It's a proposed ordinance number 2021-15, which is an ordinance of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, to approve the franchise agreement with Eastern Waste Systems Incorporated, known as EWS, for bulk waste and trash and bulk yard waste collection services. Attached here to is Exhibit A, made a part of this ordinance. Authorizing the city manager of the City of Pembroke Pines to execute the agreement with EWS, all consistent with the provisions of Section 3.12 of the Charter of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and finally providing for an effective date.
So moved.
Thank you.
Moved by Commissioner Castillo, second by Commissioner Seipel. Let me just say, on this item, thank you so much for bringing it out. Let everybody understand what we're doing. And we separated it for a good reason. Now, the companies can buy more trucks. We don't have to worry anymore or as much about hurricanes and storms. We're gonna use those trucks for that as well. So I think it was a great idea to separate them. And the people here, Angelo Marzano and everything from EWS are here. Good luck, brother. Anybody else?
Yes,
Yes,
Mayor.
yes, Mayor.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Which one?
Commissioner Seipel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, I didn't speak on the last item, but I want to speak on both of the items. And I will just have to tell you that I am very, very, very happy, not only as a commissioner in the city that we have taken these moves forward with what we're doing, but I'm a resident too. I pay just like all the rest of you do. I get the service or I don't get the service, just like all the rest of you do. I'm a resident out there as well. And so I am looking forward to some changes. I'm looking forward to good service. I'm looking forward to a continued good communication and working relationship between these companies and the city and our residents. And Commissioner Schwartz, I think you hit on something very important about, and it was mentioned at one of our earlier meetings, about going forward and the education part of it. So City Manager, I know you were listening very carefully to that, but I would also like to just sort of broaden what Commissioner Schwartz asked about as far as educating our residents. We need to also educate them about this bulk as well, and how all of that plays into their daily life, their weekly life. And we can't have misinformation or not completely correct information, sort of biased information put out there, because all that does is just cause a lot of bad problems. And then we have to try to fix it, and we don't have time to do that, nor the energy, nor the desire to do that anymore. So, city manager, please, and I would like for you also that like right now, I know we're looking at storms and hurricanes and stuff, but when information is put out to our residents, like like annually, there should be certain times, like April and May, where information starts going out to our residents to say, start getting prepared for hurricane season, start getting your cleanup done that you're gonna do, so that not everything's put out there 2 days before a storm, and then we have a problem. But all of that is this whole change and pattern education that needs to go out, and I think that's just one example that I'm thinking of. But all through the year, there are other events that happen that might have some impact on garbage or how things are dealt with, and can be used as an education piece. So, City Manager, I hope you were listening very carefully to that, and we can look forward to having some good, true, correct, factual information, not only on service, but on prices and what you should expect as a consumer, should be out there and should be bold out there for everybody to see. So thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Yes, no?
Who was that?
Schwartz.
Commissioner Schwartz, go ahead.
Thank you. One of the items that 9 years ago I had proposed twice a month pickup, and we've had various discussions on this dais. And let's just say we've never been unanimous with that policy decision. But as far as stepping off of what Commissioner Seipel had said, I firmly believe that the best way to move forward is to require bulk to be separated at the curb, and that we don't make changes to what's put out twice a month. It's super important that the Districts 1 and 2 are very, very heavy for non-HOA. Homeowners have to trim their own trees, and we have an older population. We can't ask our residents to plan on trimming their entire yard and then dumping it out 2 days before. It's next to impossible to do that safely. For me personally, between myself and my boys, I mean, we spread things out, and I think that we're, rather lowering the median age of those who are actually cutting. So vegetation debris needs to be separated, and there's a tremendous benefit by not allowing bulk to be mixed. Hurricane season, we don't have to educate them because it's already being done. With respect to construction and toilets and all that kind of stuff that goes out, certainly our code enforcement is going to be beefed up as a result of the steps that we've taken here. And if there's commingled pile, they just get tagged. They don't get picked up. That's the hardest lesson. What do you mean I have to separate? You have to separate it. And it's going to, at the end of the day, it's going to be the same truck picking up the same pile, going into the same truck. Certainly, landscapers who do illegal dumps is something that the city can do, and our residents can help us to report. But now we have this new state law that says that you have to have your name on a code enforcement complaint. So I see going to just one time a month, vegetation-wise, it's only going to exacerbate the problem that we currently have. So I suspect I have to ask the question, Commission, we're going to leave well enough alone, and my proposal would be to continue the 2 bulks a month, irrespective of material, but to require the piles to be separated by landscape material on those days. And that would be my motion, Mayor.
Okay, any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, City Manager.
Yeah, I have, need a little clarification. The proposal that we negotiated with the EWS is that it is twice a month.
Right.
The suggestion, and there were 2 different prices, having it separated was one fee, and combined was a different fee. If you separate them and you're picking them up at the same time and you're commingling it, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to separate it. My thought would be that you would have your debris, whether it be a toilet, a chair, or whatever, would be once a month, and the landscape debris would be a second collection, or vice versa. That way there, in the future, if there is another means of disposing vegetation that may be cheaper or at a lesser price, and it is now, it's a benefit to the residents. But it doesn't seem, in my mind, that if you're going to separate them and then the truck stops in front of a house and picks up one pile and then picks up the other pile, it doesn't make sense. But my recommendation in this proposal that you have before you this evening is to separate it. Have 2 pickups a month, but one of the pickups is just trash, you may say, and the other pickup would just be vegetation. That makes it a lot easier for staff to really evaluate what's in the pile. Does that vegetation come from that home simply by doing a virtual observation? If you've got a whole lot and you look at the residents and they have no trees, then you know that pile came somewhere else, and it should not be picked up, and it should be tagged. And the same way, if you're doing renovations in your home, that's not something that you do every single month. And I don't believe landscaping you would do every 2 weeks, especially when we talk tree trimmings and that's not done every 2 weeks. I mean, you wouldn't have anything left on your trees if you were trimming them that often. So the way we have it before you this evening is separated once per month. If you would want to do something differently, there's not much of a difference in price, but you need to direct us before second and final reading how you would like that to be handled.
Mayor, if I can have a follow-up question to the city manager, please.
Go ahead, Commissioner Schwartz.
Mr. Dodge, you and I had a conversation about this, and I was very candid about my position on it. You had said it was pennies of a difference. Am I correct? Between the leave things as they are as compared to what you're proposing, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so pennies. So this is what, and I don't want to speak for Vice Mayor. We're experiencing a lot of renters and foreclosures. And when the sheriff's department shows up, they don't care what day of the week it is when all that stuff winds up on the lawn. Now, an HOA can certainly address that, but the non-HOAs can't. So if we have some zones that don't get picked up until the second and fourth week of the month. So my question is, city manager, how long do you want to have the city look like that?
Well, if I may, Mayor.
City manager?
First of all, if you would be cited if you put anything out prior to your pickup, number one.
Yeah,
if you look at item number 5 on page 2 of your backup, the proposal that was provided to us by EWS, they separated, if it was separated, it is cheaper. If it's mixed, it's more expensive. And the reason for that is different locations of what you're paying per ton. What I'm looking at is down the road, that separated costs may even be less. And there may be other opportunities for recycling. I don't know what those are, but I think if we start the education piece, we're not here to encourage people to put things out every 2 weeks. and you really need to plan. If you're going to, you know, how often do you throw a chair or a hose or something out in your yard? Once a month should be sufficient for that type of material, and the same way for landscape debris. Once a month should be sufficient for that. If you believe it's more, then vote for more, and I'll go back to the vendor and renegotiate a price.
Yeah, just to follow up, Mayor.
Okay, hold on, other people want to talk. You had your say.
No, I have one point, though, based on the...
Quickly.
Okay. City of Hollywood, they separate, okay? But they have landscape material every single week. Same house, once a week, and then the toilets and the hoses and all that stuff is once a month. The difference is they're picking up every week. So the neighborhoods don't look like garbage. And so, Mayor, I don't know if I heard a second on my proposal, but I don't want to belabor the point. If I don't have a second, then we move forward.
You never made a motion.
I made a motion.
No, you didn't. You only discussed it. I never recognized the motion.
Mayor?
So I want to say a couple of things before I recognize anybody else. Mr. Dodge, I agree with you. I agree with you. And I think it becomes an education for our residents to say this is what we have to do. There are five-week months in a year. And do you know how many residents don't adhere to that? They put their garbage in bulk out in a fifth week when it's not going to be picked up for another 2 weeks. And they call me, and they call you, and they blame us. Well, guess what? 5 weeks, it doesn't work that way. It takes a big education, Mr. Dodge, and I agree with you. So I'm going to support this position that you have. All right, Commissioner Castillo.
Yes, thank you. Some months ago, when we began talking about the new setup with trade, with waste, and bulk in particular, we said that the 2 months would not be interrupted, that it would be the same. Now I'm hearing that we want to separate it out, and we want to do this, and the residents can only put their stuff out once. It's all going to the incinerator anyway, so I don't know what the purpose is of separating it. But the bottom line is, if we tell the residents of Pembroke Pines that they can only, in this beautiful tropical paradise in which we live in, they can only chop up their plants and put it out once a month, you're going to have a line of dads from that podium out to the door, banging their shoe over there saying, I can't keep my home the way I want to. Okay? That's what they want. It's not relevant what we want. If you go out and you knock on the doors that I did, that you'll be educated and you'll know. That's what Pembroke Pines wants. They want twice a month bulk. They don't want our silly rules. They want it to work for them, not the other way around. So, Mr. Dodge, you're looking for input? Hell yeah. I want twice a month bulk, exactly the way it is now. People are happy with it. Let's not create a problem where one doesn't exist. That's the one part of well, not the one part, but that is a part of how we do business with waste that is universally loved from one end of this city to the other, is that they can put their stuff out twice a month, and if they don't have something to put out that on a particular second week or whatever it is, fine. But they want that option, and they've been paying for it for these many years, and they don't want that taken away from them. And I say that for myself. I have a landscaper, so I don't really put stuff out. My landscaper's under contract to take their stuff away. And I can understand that sometimes other folks may not do that. You know what? That's a cost of doing business. And what they want is they want us to work for them. And they want the ability to put their stuff out twice a month without the need for an education. And that's what they're looking for, and that's what this commissioner is going to support. So you were asking Mr. Dodge for input. You've got it. I want it not changed. Let it be the way it is right now. Twice a month, put out whatever you want. That's what the residents of the city are asking for. Thank you.
Further discussion. Yes, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to say that, every time this conversation comes up regarding the bulk and the frequency, I get flooded by my constituency on, just like what was said, two pickups a month. My colleagues are all saying that right now. And I understand there's a little bit of twist with your view, Commissioner Schwartz, and I'll share something for just a moment. But I cannot certainly vegetation-wise agree to anything less than twice a month. And then the question is you know, if you do separate, the very first thing I'm asking myself is, what is the bulk size? What is the limit of what can be put out for bulk? Is there a limit? Is it like
10 square feet. Cubic feet. Square feet. Cubic feet. Mr. Gomes?
Good evening, Mark Gomes, Procurement Director. The cubic limit is 10 cubic yards per bulk pickup.
So can you give a physical description of what 10 cubic yard looks like?
About 290 square feet.
I think we had this exercise, Matt. It's five garbage cans wide and 2 deep.
No, it's more than that.
So
Maybe Angelo can come up and tell us.
Wait, Mr. Gomes? Damien, can you clear that up, please? We need a professional answer, not a guess.
Good evening, everyone. Dan Stinson, Eastern Waste Systems. 10 cubic yards. If we had a 10 cubic yard container here, it would be 4 feet high, 8 feet wide, and 10 feet long. So
it's a lot.
Bigger than a truck bed, an average truck bed, yes.
Okay. Mr. Vice Mayor, there's your answer?
8 feet by 10 feet?
Yes.
10 cubic feet.
So,
Did you say what numbers? I'm sorry, what numbers did you say?
4 by 8 by 10, calculate all that.
4 by 8 by 10.
Correct.
Vice Mayor?
So, in a lot of cases, that may not be enough for when somebody does go out. And I could just tell you, in looking at my neighborhood and the neighborhoods within my community, they use bulk regularly. They know when bulk, I know when bulk is coming because, you know, you see the stuff out and you see the people that do salvage stuff as well are out. You know, I mean, it's a production. So if we went to once a month, I got to tell you that would be havoc, and I can't support that. The other thing too is if you are when you are asking for separation, whether it be on twice a month or if it's 1 month this, 1 month that, and I know that there's an education, but I'm gonna tell you that we educate people all the time and it doesn't happen for everybody. And what happens is you have people that will violate. Yeah, they'll get ticketed. Yeah. What happens to the stuff that's going to continue to sit on the street? I have residents that will be on my front door telling me my neighborhood already is challenged, and now this is making it even more challenged in terms of aesthetics. I mean, they are very, very focused. When I talk to them about how long certain things sit in the street or on the swale, wherever that may be, and I don't know how that gets resolved. Not saying that maybe there isn't a pilot opportunity here, but I've been in this industry a while, and to make that happen is a huge lift. And I don't know that that our residents will tolerate the length of time it would take to get that corrected. So, you know, I do support twice a month. You know, if we can use you know, just a thought about a permeated version of what Hollywood does, you know, like maybe every 2 weeks or twice a month you get the vegetation, and once a month you get the bulk and it gets a separation. I think I could probably see that be a little bit more doable, but that's about my limit on that. I'm just saying, but definitely twice a month for little blue-collar workers like me. They just have to go out there and do what they can on a weekend, and then,
All right.
you know.
Just another comment, Mr. Dodge, I had always supported once a month because landscapers who go ahead and landscape for people and they put it out on the neighbor's lawn and say the city has to pick that up. Well, the city doesn't have to pick that up. The landscape's supposed to take it away. So now that could be any time they trim their trees or whatever, and nobody trims their trees every week that I see in the city. And I get the same calls from residents. I want them to be happy. So we need to come up with a good solution that's satisfactory to everyone and make it go. This is first reading. Mr. Dodge, you getting the information you need, you think?
Well, from what I'm hearing is that it looks like it's a status quo, twice a month, and it should be commingled, and we'll just go from there unless there's some other feeling.
I'll go.
Mayor?
Because it doesn't make any sense to separate it if you have
Commissioner Seipel?
twice a month pickup.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Dodge, I printed out your backup piece of information here that had the different, what you were, category A, or 3A and 3B. And you, in this, residential bulk and yard waste would be, one proposal was that it was separated with twice a month pickup, meaning each bulk and yard would be picked up twice, correct?
No, the provision is you continue with twice a month pickup. What we were suggesting is that, let's say the first pickup of the month was the trash. The second pickup would be vegetation. That's why we were advocating the separation of it, because the tip fee, the disposal fee for the trash is higher than it is for the vegetation. And once again, it was a minimal amount as to what it would be, but if all of you believe that the residents want everything picked up twice a month, then the recommendation is that we would go with the mix as it exists today. If that's what you want, then we have the price for that, and on second and final reading, we would include that within the ordinance.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah,
Commissioner Seipel?
thank you, Mayor. I'm reading what you have here and reading the pricing of what you're talking about, and it's such a small amount of difference that we really need to be providing the opportunity to our residents. And I think I'm looking for at least twice a month on landscaping issues, because sometimes that's kind of out of your control how everything grows, and when you have to cut it. Bulk, maybe I might be a little bit more lenient on the once a month on that, although I'm not completely sold on that either, but I think that would be a lot easier to control. But I do have a question. If someone were to get, put stuff out wrong and they were to get cited and get a ticket for that, they went over the 10 cubic yards, or they put it out, a week ahead of time, and so they were given a ticket for that. What happens then, Mr. Dodge? Now that resident has gotten the ticket, and they're going to have to probably go to our magistrate or something for that to be worked out. They're going to get a fine. They're going to have to do something. Once I know Vice Mayor was saying, and the stuff gets left out on the yard for weeks, then when nothing is happening to it. So wouldn't it make sense that if in fact we went this direction, if someone was given a ticket by our code or whatever, that as soon as that ticket gets issued, the city would go and clean that up and pick it up? I mean, the person's going to have to pay. They're going to get a penalty and a fine. They're not going to get a reduction on their garbage bill. And yet now we don't have garbage left or yard waste sitting out there, which we all know from past experience does nothing but just rot and causes insects and all kinds of stuff out there. So once they're penalized with a ticket for that, why would we not then consider now it's picked up and problem is solved? They're going to have to still pay. They're going to get a penalty and have to pay for it. Why would we even have that discussion?
Yes. Those are all good points. I know in the contract, Mark can address some of the issues. However, we are proposing to bring back to this commission an ordinance that's going to establish the rules and regulations and what those fines would be.
Good.
And how it would be handled. And once again, it would be expedited, and we're formulating that now for you so that you'll have an opportunity to comment on that. And I would request you give us an opportunity to bring that back to you. I think it'll solve it. But within this agreement, Mark, could you please address how that is handled? If someone puts out an excess amount, how they're notified, and what we do from there. Thank you.
Absolutely. So in the contract, it states, and in the bid package, it also stated that all of the residents will get at least two times per year that they could go over the limit. So the contractor will be out there. They're supposed to request those ahead of time, that they're going to go over the 10 cubic yard limits. But we talked to the contractor, and they're going to be out there tagging these situations where they go over. They'll notify the contractor on that tag, the resident on that tag, saying this is your first attempt that you went over that limit, so it's going to be, you only have one remaining. Then the same thing will happen the second time, then the third time you'll be charged for situations like that. The contractor will be working with our city administration and code enforcement to address these residents to make sure these situations are handled. And like Mr. Dodd said, we'll be bringing back a code amendment.
And that'll be all in part of what you're going to bring back, Mr. Dodd, you were referring to, correct?
Yes, and the trash will be picked up. There'll just be fines assessed, and we're working in a process of a series of liens on the homes, but it will not be leaving trash on the street.
And I think that's the real issue, is leaving stuff out there for such a long period of time. Thank you.
And just remember that people that are in their house doing their everyday trimming, they sell that house to somebody doesn't know the rules. So now you might have the same, so we have to, I've been saying this for years, we have to do a great education program for our residents. God bless George Corwin in the Southeast. He tells everybody, this is when you should put yours out. Don't put it out beforehand, you know, and don't put it out after the truck went by and call the commissioner and say, they didn't pick up my garbage. So, Mr. Dodge, I think you got a lot of information here.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to say one more.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I did get a little distracted with this issue here, and I do want to thank Commissioner Schwartz for bringing it up. Good conversation. But I did want to say for a moment that, you know, it was Miramar who used to be rather progressive in doing these franchise agreements, and now Pembroke Pines is the progressive, you know, city setting up these franchise agreements, because this is a rather a new way of doing franchise business here in the county. Yeah. This is, I believe it may be the first, and I know that other cities are actually looking to be modeling after this format of solid waste services, and I do want to congratulate you, Mr. City Manager, and your staff for doing a really good job at being creative, out of the box, and being able to keep our solid waste costs in control. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 13 is discussed.
Mayor, I have a question for the vendor. Please.
This could be the last one, because well, you can't just keep every 5 minutes have a question. Otherwise, we'll be here. Go ahead.
Yeah, God forbid we have.
Codify your remark.
God forbid we have debate on something.
Well, no, I just want you to be by the rules.
Damon, good evening.
Good evening.
I had concerns about the 10 cubic situation when we actually wrote the RFP. Looking back, that you're the only vendor who was going to get it because you were doing work for the other two companies that bid and then yourself. 10 cubic yards, how do we measure compared to other accounts that you have in the county? Are we like the smallest size? Because I can't imagine this is even manageable. And I'm saying this because if we are self-inflicting our ability to be able to pick up in an efficient way, we need to do that. Because of this 10 cubic yard situation, there's a reason why I'm recommending separating. You have a dresser, a mattress, a bedroom set, right? That's less than 10 cubic. So, Damon, where are we compared to everyone else that you pick up with per hour?
Well, I can tell you that in Broward County, while I can't give you specific numbers on who does what, I would say that there's an array of options. Weston goes quarterly. Most cities that go monthly. In terms of a limit, I would 6 to 8 yards is 6 or 8 yards if the limit is established. Generally,
6 or 8, and now we're like almost 50% above that. That is our Achilles heel. And I believe this is what we should direct the city manager to reduce the amount of cubic yards maximum that goes out on lawns. And I think we're going to satisfy a lot of these questions and a lot of these concerns about landscape dumps. Okay, this twice a year stuff is too complicated. Keep it simple. You know, if it's 4 trash cans wide, that's simple. People can see that stuff. So if there's 6 and we're at 10, why should we be 40% more?
City manager, how long have we been 10?
Excuse me, Mayor?
How long have we been 10 cubic feet?
Oh, I don't know. It may,
Anybody know?
it probably
Mark?
has been in the past contracts. I don't know.
How many years we've been in 10 cubic feet?
Actually, I don't believe our previous contract stated a specific limit. It was discussed in our presentation with the commission of going with an actual limit due to the collection situations that we had in the past.
We have to have a limit.
Yes, in the past, there wasn't a specific limit.
All right, well, we need to get these all straightened out before the next reading, city manager.
If it's the desire for us to negotiate a smaller quantity, we'll do that and bring it back. I'll get with the vendor.
The only question I have, and I'll finish myself with that, is smaller, they can go over it and it'll be worse.
Yeah.
You know, so I want to question that you're saying.
Well, we have
I don't want it to be worse by being smaller.
Well, we have a provision in it that if they do go over there a couple times, we also have a provision in there that if they go over, we cite them, they can pay additional dollars to have it removed. But if they don't, they will be cited, it will be removed, and the homeowner will be charged.
All right, let's come up with something for second reading.
We're working on those ordinances
All right.
now.
Vice Mayor, last time I'm
Yeah, I just want to respond to Commissioner Schwartz. So, I mean, I can say that, what was not also shared of the array is that there are several cities that are unlimited as well, too, just like this city has been. And I think that this is the first time that the city has actually put a cap on things. So, I mean, I believe that the 10 cubic yard is probably already factored into their number, and maybe we have an
Are
Oh,
you
opportunity.
good with 10?
Yes, Commissioner?
Yeah, and what I'm trying to say is that maybe after a period of time, a year or two, there may be an opportunity for a reduction if we see that, you know, that we can handle that, going from 10 to a lower amount.
Okay,
That's fine.
good discussion. All right, City Clerk, call the roll on item 13, please.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Mayor?
City Manager?
Yes, I have one comment. So that we don't get into this on second reading, do you want me to, I've heard different commissioners' thoughts on the quantity. Do you want me to work on a scale and bring back those numbers to you so you at least know what they are, how it affects the homeowner?
I don't understand the question.
The question is,
I'm happy
we have a
with what it is.
10-yard limit. Some have mentioned it's excessive. Should we go between 6 and 8? If you want to leave it at 10, we have no issue.
I haven't heard, you're asking me.
I'm presenting it to everybody.
Microphone, Commissioner, please. Thank you.
I don't want to speak out of turn, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for your indulgence. I haven't heard one cogent excuse for why that's not a proper standard. So if we want to change the standard, someone's going to have to tell me why the standard we have is wrong, why it has been wrong all along, and why it would be wrong going forward. Somebody would have to explain this to me.
Okay.
I can tell you that whatever that standard is, the residents of Pembroke Pines like it. So I would change as little as possible.
Wow.
Okay.
And pick up the garbage.
All right, City Manager, you got, I think, the standard of what we want to go by for second reading.
I've heard different thoughts, but we'll bring back
All right.
the ordinance on second reading.
All right, thank you very much. All right, item 15, city.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. For the record, the second and final reading of that item will be on, October the 6th in these chambers. Next up is item 15, Mayor. May I read?
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Item 15 is a motion to pass proposed ordinance number 2021-19 on first reading. It is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, pursuant to Section 8.03 of the City of Pembroke Pines Charter, authorizing the sale of that certain 8.14 plus minus acre parcel of real property, generally located and known as north of Johnson Street property, subject to the terms and conditions as set forth within the purchase and sale agreement, and authorizing it incorporated herein as Exhibit Number B. Authorizing the proper city officials to execute all necessary documents in order to effectuate the sale and conveyance as set forth in the purchase and sale agreement, providing for conflict, severability, and providing for an effective date. Item 15. Thank you.
Moved by Commissioner Castillo, second by Commissioner Seipel.
Mayor?
Discussion on
Yes.
item 15. Discussion on item 15.
Yes,
Yes.
Mayor.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I had quite a bit of discussion with Mr. Dodge about what this actually is doing. And it's not exactly as straightforward. There's some parts to it. So I would ask City Manager if you would please explain from beginning to end what actually is happening here. I think it's a good thing that's happening, but I think we need to have it explained so that everyone understands.
City Manager, would you give an explanation, please?
Yes, Mayor. The item before you is for the sale of property that the city owns. And the reason for the sale is to be able to provide the proper right-of-way to build Pembroke Road from 196 to US 27. The owner of the property that abuts the newly to be constructed Pembroke Road is the South Florida Water Management District. They own the parcel that we need, which is in the city of Miramar. The city of Miramar and Pembroke Pines are approaching this with the county as a joint project. So what needs to be done is the city of Miramar is actually buying this property in Pembroke Pines. The property abuts close to the dike area between the Everglades, north of Holly Lake in the in the FP&L easement area. South Florida Water Management District owns the adjoining pieces. So since the South Florida Water Management District would not sell the Miramar parcel, they wanted a swap of like property, which is to be preserved as wetlands or for whatever the South Florida Water Management maintains that for. Miramar is buying this piece, paying the city for it. They, in turn, will then swap it with the piece in Miramar, and then later on, Miramar will get reimbursed for that expenditure once as part of the cost of the construction from the county for building Pembroke Road.
Mr. Seipel?
Thank you, Mr. Dodge. As I said, there's a lot of layers that go into this, but it's really a good move. We're finally going to get what we need to do, which is completing that Pembroke Road portion with, the traffic issues that we talk about all the time. It certainly will be a help, and this was a really very innovative way to make this happen, and for communities to work together. And actually, at first I was a little bit concerned because I thought, well, what is that? What is the impact on the Holly Lake community, because the land is sort of changing? But actually, it's a good thing for them, because now it will be forever as a wetlands, open area for them, that they wouldn't necessarily have to worry about anything, coming into there. So I think this is a really good move. Thank you, Mr. Dodge, and whoever was with you putting this together. Again, a great example of thinking outside the box and using opportunities to work together as a South Florida unit to make some good stuff. And I look forward to having that road completed. I know that, Mayor, there's been a lot of work that's been done through the years, and for Pembroke Road. I know, county was quite involved in, in a lot of it from the get-go, and other agencies were part of it. And it's finally looking like now we're going to get some relief. So I think this is a good project, and thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Castillo?
Yes, thank you. I also had questions about the layers of this. It wasn't clear as I read through the item, but then I had a good conversation with Director Stam, and he helped me to understand how the land swap was working, how Miramar would get reimbursed with the surtax dollars, and how this makes sense in order to provide, at long last, the right-of-way so that this, a half mile of road or so can be paved and taken out to US 27, at least 2 lanes of it. My understanding is, and I still can't get a straight answer on this, so maybe somebody can come up and explain it, is that this project is now going to be done in phases because there have been concerns raised. So one of the first phase, I was told, was that the 2 lanes after this resolution is passed, that these 2 lanes can be put in, but that won't happen until about 2025. And I just think that's too long to wait. I would much prefer some sort of an agreement. I mean, this isn't even Tallahassee we're talking about. We're talking about somebody just 30 miles away in Fort Lauderdale, where they let us do it and then pay us back. There are people in West Pines that are choking in traffic. They need this artery. You can't get to US 27 if you live in Miramar. You have to go through Pembroke Pines. We need to cut through the red tape and get this thing built already, at least 2 lanes to give people an opportunity. Down the road, I'd like to see 208 connect to Pembroke Road so that you also have another way out for the Somerset people or what have you. We need to complete these projects. And I have to tell you, I love this city. I really, really do. But there was a time when we prosecuted these things a lot faster. And we need to get back to that. It's just too many excuses. And I don't want to hear any more excuses. I want to hear possibilities for how we can get this done quickly. This is a great move. This provides the right-of-way that we've long needed in order to put the road down. After tonight, we'll have that. We need to move now to get the people who are involved at the county and at the other agencies motivated to get this done faster. We shouldn't have to wait until 2025, and I'm not even sure it'll be done then. I remember, Mayor Ortiz will remember, at the old City Hall, I had a board, Commissioner Seipel, remember that? We had a board on the wall because, and that board chronicled the many changing completion dates of the Pembroke Road overpass. First, it was going to be in 2004. Then it was going to be in 2006. Charlie remembers when Mayor Flanagan was talking about the Pembroke Road overpass on I-75. So I don't want to take a chance that this thing is just going to go on and on and on. There are people choking in traffic out there because of these schools, particularly now with COVID. We understand what the story is. Parents want to take their kids to school one at a time in a car. We need to have more road capacity. So I'm going to vote on this. I'm going to vote on this tonight. But I don't want to hear any more excuses. I want to hear that we are all motivated together to find a way to overcome whatever problems there are and get at least these 2 lanes built as quickly as possible. That's what the residents expect of us. Let's serve them. Thank you.
All right, and first of all, to say that we're not concerned about the residents is a misnomer. And number one, when we used to do it years ago, we had what we called a LAP agreement, if you would remember that. That's how we expanded Pines Boulevard. We did it, and they reimbursed us for it.
Right.
They did away with the LAP agreement. Now we're in the FAST agreement. A little different.
Point of information.
No, I'm not done yet.
That's incorrect.
I'm not done yet.
Well, that's incorrect.
I'm not done yet, Commissioner.
Tell the truth.
I'm not done yet, Commissioner. And projects go through the MPO. You may not like that, but they go through the MPO, and they come out at a certain time. Everybody tries to get money from the feds. So you have to fit this in. Now, we could all say, let's do it tomorrow. Boom. Take the money out of the reserve, Mr. Dodge, and do it. Well, it doesn't work that way.
Why not?
Because it doesn't.
Why not?
If I have to tell you about the mechanics of how roads are built, then you need to get another job.
No, you forget how we used to run this city.
Used to. It's right, I said that.
Lab agreement, excuse me, Mayor. Lab agreement
City Attorney, do I have the floor?
You have the floor,
Thank
President.
you very much.
Point of information.
Point of information.
Okay, point of clarification. Lab agreements were between this city and the state. I'm not talking about the state. I'm talking about the county.
I was.
Okay, this is a county project.
It may not be.
What do you mean it may not be? It's already been budgeted.
Do you remember when the
Are
overpass?
you the chair of the MPO? Don't you know how this is budgeted?
Excuse me?
Are you the chair of the MPO?
I am.
Then you should know how this is budgeted.
I do.
This is a county project. There's no reason why we can't go to the county and say,
All right.
we can do it faster.
You're right. All right.
Charlie Dodge,
City Attorney?
please don't turn off.
No, this is
Listen,
information.
this is
You've got it.
Okay,
You called it MPO, I don't know what it does. That's good.
The lap agreement has nothing to do with.
I said it as a reference.
Okay,
I said you
so
can go.
instead of making excuses,
Okay,
we
good.
should go to the
You're right,
county and
Commissioner.
get it done.
City Attorney, let's move on.
Mayor, you still have the floor.
Let's move on. I'm ready for item.
If the point of
ready.
clarification is
Item
concluded.
Enough with the traffic.
I'm ready for item 15, City Attorney.
It's on the floor, Mayor.
Okay, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Castillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Seifel,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz, Vice Mayor Good,
Yes.
Mayor Ordus.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item
we're on
will be
item
considered in the
17,
chambers.
regular
If I may,
agenda.
Mayor, on the second and final reading in the chambers for public hearing September 13th. Thank you, Mayor.
So we're on regular agenda, discussion, possible action to direct city administration to work with the Broward County Legislative Delegation and lobbyists for the fiscal year 2022-23 legislative appropriation requests. Any discussion? Okay, city clerk, call the roll that we're gonna do that to our legislative body. Somebody had to make it, we're gonna do, is that just by consensus?
No, Mayor, it needs to be a motion to direct.
Okay, somebody make a
Thank
motion,
you.
please. So moved. Moved by Commissioner Castillo, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Seifel. Discussion? All right, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Castillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Seifel,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Good,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
Mayor Ordus.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Manager? Mr. Manager?
What, Mayor?
Do you have a report?
No, Mayor, I do not.
Okay, City Attorney?
No, Mayor, thank you very much.
Great. Commissioner Schwartz, go ahead with your item.
Do we have any league business?
I'm sorry?
Do we have any league business?
No, that's not, there's a meeting, a board meeting coming up on Thursday.
Tomorrow. There's a meeting
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
What's today?
Tomorrow.
Thursday, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Lost the date. Go ahead.
Today's the day before tomorrow.
I got you.
Okay.
Thursday.
All right, discussion and possible action to direct the city attorney's office to prepare an intent resolution pursuant to section 197.3632 Florida statute for the levy collection and enforcement of a non-ad valorem solid waste assessment in the city, and to direct the city administration to prepare any financial or operational analysis necessary to impose a non-ad valorem solid waste assessment in the city beginning fiscal year 2022 to 2023, following similar actions currently in place for the cities of Lighthouse Point, North Lauderdale, Tamarack. I can now add West Park to that list. Under the possible action, the city will streamline its collection efforts into one bill a year and significantly reduce non-payment accounts by non-homeowners. Mayor, I want to thank our finance director, Lisa Chung. Right now, we have over $250,000 in outstanding debt in 4 months. We are behind the collection effort. I don't want to speak for everyone in the administration, but I didn't have any objection to the item. And certainly, this won't impact this year's budget. By law, we have to pass this before December 31st of this year. So we'll come back in a reso. I believe it'll be September the 13th, and then second reading with your blessing. Are we done in October? Plenty of time. It doesn't impact this year's budget at all. Certainly, just to give you a general idea, we collect about $11 million a year on 30,000 accounts. The default rate is right now 3 times the annual average, and we can't run a city like that being behind. Our budgets are thin. It's the one ability that we have to collect. Asking for your support.
Mayor? Mr. Dodge? Mr. Dodge?
Yes, Mayor.
The example is 3 small cities. What do you think, what is your opinion?
My opinion on this methodology?
Well, the item uses 3 small cities in a comparison. We're a pretty big city, so.
Well, it really is a policy that the commission would take. For example, you have a special assessment for fire. This would be a special assessment for solid waste. So instead of collecting it on a monthly basis, you would come up with what we believe would be the cost for a year, and you would do an assessment very similar to fire, and you would it would go on the tax bill, and then at the end of each year, you would do a true up, and the same thing would occur. That you would look to see what your costs are for solid waste, and you would assess each year, just like you do the fire assessment, a solid waste assessment, and you would have a process, and it would go on the ad valorem bill rather than on the monthly water bill.
Mr. Castillo.
Thank you, Mayor. A commissioner has brought this up, and I'm going to give the item all of the respect that it is due. I think we should study it. I am neither for or against it now. As you all know, we have, I do a memo to staff in advance of these meetings upon getting my agenda. I don't know how my question and some of the answers didn't cross in the email, but I never got my answers to this question. I got some from the city attorney, which were helpful, but I didn't get the rest, and that can happen. So there was no real backup other than a copy of the statute on the item, but that's okay. I had a conversation with Mr. Dodge just before the meeting started. His recollection is that Lisa Chong, our finance director, our outstanding finance director, communicated to him that there is a default rate of about 3% on these accounts now. Is that about right, Mr. Dodge?
I'm looking at the memo. It
Point of
says
clarification.
2.3%.
2.3%.
Point of clarification.
Schwartz?
The 2.3% is based on annual, but the finance director was only able to go 120 days. So we're collecting approximately $900,000 a month.
So what's your point of clarification?
My point of clarification is that the percentage of the 2.3 that was provided in the memo, Mr. Dodge, is annualized at 6.7 if we look at the last 4 months.
I would like Ms. Chung to address that. I don't believe.
See, and that's precisely my point.
Chung?
As she comes forward, and I look forward to that.
Hold on, Commissioner Castillo.
I look forward to that answer.
Commissioner Schwartz has the floor. Hello, Ms. Chung. Good evening.
Good evening, Lisa Chong, Finance Director. Yes, Commissioner, the 256,000 is what we have as outstanding sanitation accounts for currently, right now. As a percentage of what we collect for the entire year, that's 2.3%.
Right.
So it is 2.3.
2.3 for the year, but you weren't able to go back beyond 120 days from now, is that correct?
No, this is what we have right now for all the accounts that we have.
Anything past 120.
Anything past due.
This is the total for everything past 120. So someone does not pay their water bill. If it's 30 days past due, there was an amount. If it's 60 days, there was an amount.
Right.
But for all of them collectively,
Right.
past 120 days, that would be the 2.3%.
Okay. Can I have the floor back? I appreciate
Commissioner Schwartz, are you done?
Yeah.
I appreciate the clarification because it actually points to what I'm looking for. So I have many questions about this that would have to be answered, not the least of which is what the implications would be to the homeowners. So now they'd have to escrow more money if they have a mortgage, and if they don't have a mortgage, they would have to finance this along with their tax bill once a year rather than splitting it up in their current bill. In terms of enforceability of collection, right now, in the worst case scenario, we shut somebody's water off, but they have to pay the entire bill, I'm told, the entire utility bill, not just the water portion, the entire utility bill in order to get the water turned back on. Let's hope we never have to do that again, but it's possible in cases that we do that. It makes it a much easier enforcement thing, but I don't want to conclude that yet. I would need to see all of the pros and the cons. I would like to see these 3 cities or other cities interviewed, and I'd like to know what's going on. I'd like the public to have a say in how it is that their government is going to bill them. Maybe they have a preference. Maybe they like it just the way it is. What we've established is that the presumption and I want to say this respectfully, the presumption that's in the item isn't correct. There is no major problem in collections. 2.3% is not a major problem in collections. Not when you have the abilities that we have. I don't know whether if you pay it with the bill or the assessment. I need more clarification from the city attorney, whether that's something that runs with the land. Is it now a real estate issue, a foreclosure matter, versus enforcing it in some other ways? I have many questions about this. I would like the questions answered. I think that we should look at options. I don't have a problem. I'm not going to dismiss it altogether, but I'm not ready to vote on it tonight. I'm nowhere near ready to vote on it tonight. So I need lots and lots more information to come back, and I encourage, if that's the motion, is to get more information so that we understand this better, I'm for it. But right now, I don't see a purpose for it because the stated purpose, which was to reduce significantly reduce non-payment of account, I don't think you can reduce it much more than 2.3% per year. But okay, maybe we can. I'd like to see how that's done. I'd like to see what the experience is in these other 3 cities or other cities that use this methodology. I have many questions before I would be prepared to cast a vote on this. So if the motion is to go and take a look at it and bring it back after we have the information so that we can decide whether, once we have the information, we can decide whether we want a resolution or not, that's fine. But I'm not going to I'm not going to ask for a resolution.
Point of clarification, Mayor.
Without the information.
Well, let me just point out that this is.
Thank you.
There's not a motion. It's discussion. Further discussion on the item.
Yes, Mayor, on the clarification, the item itself.
Quickly on clarification.
The item itself, to satisfy the Commissioner's concerns, is to direct the administration to bring something back. To bring it back. We have until the second meeting of December to make a final decision.
We clarified. City Commissioner Cycli, do you want?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I read this, and at first I was like, oh, I don't know about that. And then I read it a couple more times, and I thought, well, it's kind of might be a unique idea. It might be something, but again, I do have a lot of questions, and so I took this item here is that we would just be giving some direction to city attorney as well as the city manager to bring back more detailed information, such as why would we even look at doing this? What would be a reason to even look at doing this? How will it affect our residents? Is it a positive, a negative, and in what scenario would it be a positive or a negative? Not everybody's going to be affected the same way. The legal part of doing it, 2.3%, you're doing pretty good if that's what it is. So it's not really necessarily a collection improvement. I don't see that based upon the numbers that Ms. Chong is giving us. But if there is some way to provide a better way, if you will, for our residents to handle this, I'm interested in looking at that and getting that kind of information. So I would hope, Mr. Dodge and City Attorney, that you're hearing what we're saying and that's what would be coming back to us in your what was it called? Prepare an intent resolution. Well, I don't know that I love the word intent resolution, but I would say come back with information and a report to us that breaks down and answers the questions that have been proposed tonight. Thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to say that, you know, I am very familiar with the pros and the cons of a service fee versus a assessment. You know, a lot of times, you know, that's more geared maybe sometimes towards operation, and if administration is indifferent about it as well. It'll bring me back then to, you know, thinking about the different classes of people that we're speaking to and what the changes would be. So, you know, if you own a home and it becomes, you know, a part of the mortgage, the escrow, it's no different. I mean, you pay your escrow agent, or you pay your mortgage company, or you pay the city, it doesn't matter. Where it does matter, though, is for, you know, one class of people is homeowner, the owner of the property, because, you know, there's a lot of rentals out there. So currently the way that the water and the trash is handled is by the renter, not the owner. So the owner is now going to bear an additional burden that they didn't expect before. So that could mean an increase in rental to their properties, because they now have to cover another cost that's associated with it. The second group of or class of people I'm concerned about are people that do own their home, don't have a mortgage, that are on a fixed income, and I don't know how this might impact them, because they may be able to do a monthly thing because they're getting their monthly income, but if they have to do it all at once, there is potentially a hardship. So the concern that I would have there is, what do we have as a safety net for those kind of people? You know, I mean, there could be a way to deal with that type of hardship that may fall on somebody who has to pay all at once, whereas they were able to handle it on a monthly basis. So those are the two main classes I will tell you that it will impact, but I'm not opposed to seeing what this looks like. I mean, even if you want to put it together and look, I mean, the best way to have conversation is see what it looks like, and let's just have conversation. Let people know that we're thinking about doing it, and let them weigh in on it as well. So I'm not opposed to this.
All right, and everybody's feeling? All right.
So we have consensus then to have the manager bring back,
Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
October, city manager, first meeting?
I believe we probably should look at the second meeting, which is October 13th.
Okay, just from a timing standpoint, if we were to bring it back the second in October, if this commission were to pass first reading, we basically have until the 31st, right? And I don't want us to feel rushed.
You have plenty of time for an ordinance if you need to.
Okay.
It's a resolution.
Oh, it is a resolution?
It's a reso,
So it's only one reading.
intent reso, and then it has to be published and has to be submitted to the property appraiser.
Good. Mr. Manager, could we get an update on the surtax from our penny surtax shovel-ready projects? I haven't heard anything about that. I know they were going to cities that had shovel-ready projects and we're going to disperse the money. Could you give us an idea of what we have shovel-ready and where we are?
Yes, Mayor.
All right, thanks. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, before you conclude this meeting,
Yes.
if you allow me just 1 minute of your time when you're done with your... You're done. The collective bargaining team for the fire contract has requested a Chapter 447, a quick closed-door session in the room before this commission. If you will, it is a meeting which, as you know, is exempt from Florida law's Sunshine Law. Administration, through the collective bargaining team, has a few questions for the commission which need to be answered before we all go home tonight, with your permission, Mayor. Thank you.
Mayor, I have an item for under old business, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you. And I'm going to read something because I wanted to make sure I had all the information correct. And it's going back to an old item that we had some discussion about, which was our towing RFQ. And my statement is that I read that the towing RFQ bid opening was scheduled for September 7th. And I asked Mr. Gomes for a copy of the RFQ for my review, as I wanted to make sure that the intent of my amendment had been properly captured. There were two items. One was site visits by staff people with photos and the scoring of equipment types, which was brought up and clarified, Vice Mayor brought up for clarification on that. I listened to the video several times to verify that I had spoken correctly with my request and my intent. As I stated, our city's needs have changed over the last few years. We now have several large distribution centers that are surrounded by neighborhoods. US 27, Sheridan Street, and Sterling Road are now used by these large semi-trucks delivering or picking up product for distribution elsewhere. That is what led to my questioning the need for heavy industrial equipment that had the capacity to tow or rescue should there be that need. Class C and Class D wreckers are very, very different animals. Only Class C is mentioned in our RFQ. When Vice Mayor Good asked if my intent was aimed at being a requirement for this heavy industrial equipment or was to be used in the rating process, I clarified by saying my intent was for the rating purposes for that. So many points would be given for each category, Class A, Class B, Class C, and Class D. I want to be sure that the scoring reflects that intent that was voted on and approved by this commission at that meeting. So I guess my question, Mayor, would be to Mr. Gomes, and if he's still here, if you could come up. I do want to just make sure, and thank you for getting the information to me as quickly as you did. I do appreciate that. When I looked at page 22, 1.7, the evaluation of proposals and the process of selection, where it gives the criteria, it's page 22, and it adds up to the 100 points. I wanted to make sure that in fact the intent that we voted on here about being able to score that correctly, which I think the discussion was, while we weren't making like Class D equipment be a requirement, but certainly if you had it, if a vendor had that equipment, they would be able to score higher or score maximum or, on that particular category. And a vendor who only had, I think they have to go at least up to a C for our RFQ. If they only had that, obviously they would not score the maximum because they don't have that. And that was the intent, I believe, Vice Mayor, our intent that evening that was voted on and passed by this commission. So since I didn't see that in here when I was reading the RFQ, I wanted to bring it up tonight to make sure that in fact that is the way that will be handled.
Good evening, Mark Gomes, Procurement Director. So what we did with the bid package and from our understanding of the Commission's discussion is that we added specific language stating that the...
Take that down.
I'm sorry. What we did is we added additional language to the bid package to state that the vendors would state what types of vehicles they have, the age of their fleet and whatnot.
I read that.
And then also specify if they own the vehicles, if they're leasing it, if they're subcontracting. And then it would give the evaluation committee the opportunity to grade whatever they submit based on their understanding on what's in the best interest of the city. We didn't assign specific points to different classes.
Well, you do have specific points for specific criteria in here. So I'm on your little grid that you have here. Where would it fall in here for scoring for someone who did have a Class D that would get maximum points, as opposed to someone who doesn't have, who would not be given maximum points because they don't have that? So where would it be here in this?
So in the criteria, it would fall under the size, diversity, condition, and location of the fleet. That's where the evaluation would score it, but we did not specifically put that the evaluation committee would score, if they had a Class D, a certain amount of points for that, or give.
That was the intent that was the intent of the vote from that night. Absolutely it was. So that's why I want to make sure that that's carried out that way, because that was the vote and that was clearly the intent. If someone had Class D, and especially now, like I just read, with all of the, different, that our city is very different now with all these distribution centers, and I see the semis all the time out there, that hopefully we never have to do, but if we do, we want to make sure that was where I was coming from on that, and that if someone did have that D, that they should get whatever maximum points would be for that category. And if they didn't have it, they certainly should not be given maximum points because they don't really meet that. So that was clearly the intent from that evening.
Mayor?
The other part of it, well, let me finish, please. The other part of it was something that you well, outside of this, but something that you brought up that you just said. If they had it leased or rented or what have you, and that's great, then that would certainly fall into what we're calling qualified for. My concern about that, and there was no language in here, I couldn't find it anywhere in here that would say if Company A said they leased product 1 and they were then awarded the contract. Do we have any method, and I didn't find it in here, that we're going to check 3 months later, is that still a valid contract? Is that still a valid lease? Or did they do it for 3 months to get awarded the contract and now it doesn't exist anymore? Where is that in here? I couldn't find it anywhere in this. Or is it part of your protocol or your policy or what have you? Where are we covered that way?
We can address that in the contract for when we finalize the contract with the awarded vendors or vendors to address how they would.
Well, they're going to provide you with a lease or an ownership paper. But let's say it's a lease condition. Do you then, a few months down the road, validate that that's still a valid lease? They still have valid insurance. They have all those things that are out there. Because there's nothing in here that talks about that, and that's really pretty important.
Sure. Yeah,
so how would you address that? How would you deal with that?
So generally, each contract is managed by a contract manager assigned to that contract. We can specify how each contract manager would address that. So with this,
would you provide me, and I would ask for my colleagues too, maybe a memo or something that says that this is how we deal with that. We've dealt with it in the past this way, and going forward, this is how we deal with that. I'd feel very comfortable having that.
Sure.
The main part that I brought up was this, the scoring on you have or you don't have. You will be addressing that, I guess, when following the intent of what was voted on here on maximum if you have, not maximum if you don't have.
Yes, we will provide all this information from this discussion and previous discussion to the evaluation committee, so they're aware of how the city commission wants to score the vendors.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Any other discussion?
Yes.
Who was that?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo. And I just ask that when a commissioner is talking, we don't interrupt them and try to interrupt their thought process.
Yeah,
Commissioner Castillo, go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify. Commissioner Seipel is right. That's the vote that was taken. I voted against it, and I voted against it because I thought it was wholly unnecessary, and that it was anti-competitive to the group that the company that we had, which the police department completely endorsed to renew. And also because that's never been a need that Pembroke Pines has ever had before. When we've needed heavy equipment, the agreement that the vendor had, which was a lease agreement, brought that equipment in without very much delay right away. There's no need to force a vendor to own equipment. There's just no need for that. Any more than a need for our general contractors not to have subs. It's just unnecessary, and I don't think that this commission should drill into the business practices of our vendors. It's his responsibility to make sure that the equipment is there. That's why I voted the way I voted, but I was outvoted. Commissioner Seipel is correct. There were four votes in favor of that motion, and I voted against it. I bring up the point, not to tear off that scab, but just to make sure that everyone understands. Commissioner talked about how the commission brought, ordered this. It did. This commissioner voted against it. Thank you.
Mayor, I have a point of clarification.
Commissioner Seipel?
City Attorney.
Yes, ma'am.
City Attorney, while we may all have our individual votes on an item, when we vote as a commission, as a group, correct?
That's the law, Madam
Okay.
Commissioner.
And I want to clarify something, Commissioner. The reason for, there was discussion about it being a requirement or not. If you recall, we did not make it a requirement. We did not get into forcing them to have to purchase equipment, which I understand now they did just recently go buy a Class C, which is kind of interesting. But we did not make it a requirement, but we certainly did look to give a little extra to those that did have it because of the comfort that they gave us should we need it. So I wanted to clarify that as well. Thank you.
Commissioner Schwartz?
No, not.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Thank you, Mayor. The commission was clear. Okay, I'm disappointed that, and I'm thankful actually that Commissioner Seipel looked deeper into it. I felt that this was going to be put together based upon what our discussion was. It looks bad if we have to go back and remind staff, city manager, of what we asked for. We didn't ask a vendor to go out and buy stuff. We gave points to vendors who had stuff. There's a distinct difference, and to put it in a category that, and I hear the vice mayor just, it's subjective. No, it's either they have it or they don't, man. Like, that's it. Check the box. They had the big truck, they got the helicopter, they got the boat, and the elephant, and whatever else was
A submarine.
a submarine. Submarine. The best was the campaign donations. That was the best.
All right,
Please make sure we don't have credit for those.
All right, and
Okay.
I remember the contractor that had the bid came up to the podium and said he's never had a problem or getting a helicopter or large equipment to move it. Vice Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll be brief, and thank you, Commissioner Seipel, for what you presented to us. It's very important that what we do is carried through, so I'm fine with all the conversation. The only thing, though, is I did hear was you said that you would bring this information to the evaluation committee and explain it to them, right? Is there a reason why this wouldn't go out in an addendum if it's not in there right now? Or is it out in the street? Is it done? I mean...
No, the bid opens on the 7th. We can definitely put that in as an addendum.
Yeah, I think that would be
Sure.
more important, yes.
Actually, that's proper of what should happen.
Sure.
Okay,
All right,
thank
any
you.
further discussion? All right, so we have an executive meeting.
We do.
Closed door session, Mayor, so you'll adjourn this meeting publicly and then
We are
repair to the
adjourned.
back room just for a
We
few
are
moments of your time, please. It sounds so horrible, but it's
5 minutes.
the way it is.
I promised her I wouldn't pull anything, so we can go and...
5 minutes. 5 minutes.